What's cracking, y'all? You are now watching Boo TV. Appreciate you for stopping in. Like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell, stay notified, and let's get into the topic for today. What up? As the NBA season is very close to starting, I said I would do, in tradition to what I did last year, the beginning of my channel is put together my NBA team tier list, my predictions for next season or this upcoming season. And after the season is completed, I will review my tier listings and see where I was right and see where I was wrong. All right. So the same as last year, we have a total of 5 tiers. All right. S tier are going to be the legit championship contenders, in my opinion. A tier are going to be the fringe contenders, those teams that I feel like are really close but just missing a piece or missing something that'll put them over the top. The B tier are your middle of the pack, your average teams. The C tier are going to be all your teams fighting for the play-in tournament, and then the D tier are basically your lottery teams. All right. I would love to hear your opinion. Where do you agree? Where do you disagree? Let me know live in the comment section as you're watching this video, and let's get into it, folks. All right. Starting with the Milwaukee Bucks. Now, the Milwaukee Bucks last season finished at 58-24 record. I believe they were number 1 in the Eastern Conference, but flamed out in the playoffs as they lost to the Miami Heat. As we all know, the big catch in the offseason was the acquisition of Damian Lillard, which is going to definitely make this team better, in my opinion. They lost Drew Holiday, but while they lost some defensive prowess there, they gained a huge offensive weapon in Dame time to give Giannis Antetokounmpo the help that he needs. They still have a pretty deep bench. They still have Chris Middleton. They have Cameron Payne now coming off the bench. They still have Brook Lopez. They still have Bobby Portis. Actually, I'm making this more long-winded than it has to be. We all know the Milwaukee Bucks are championship contenders. S tier, baby. No explanation needed for this team. Let's keep it real. The Brooklyn Nets. Last season, they finished with a 45-37 record, but we all know all the drama swirling around that team for about the first half of the season before they were able to offload Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving. Now they are coming in with a full new season with a bunch of new faces, a bunch of young gunners ready to go out there and make a difference. Even with them putting that team together with those late or mid-season or late-season additions, they still played very admirably. And the Brooklyn Nets have a lot to look up to moving forward for the future of their franchise. Royce O'Neal is on the squad. I love him. I absolutely love everything about Royce O'Neal. Cameron Johnson is now on the ball club. The best player that they have, no, is not Ben Simmons, but he looks to return healthy and ready to play. Surprise, surprise. But their best player is actually Mikal Bridges, and he can do a little bit of everything, actually. So it'll be nice to see how he steps more into that leadership role. Cam Thomas is on the squad. Spencer Dinwiddie's on the squad. Nick Claxton is still on the squad. They got Lonnie Walker the fourth. They got some good pieces that they can move on with. But I think it's going to be really on Mikal Bridges, Cam Thompson, Cam Johnson, and Spencer Dinwiddie. Dinwiddie's a solid player, but these guys are really going to have to take the next step and perform to lead the rest of the role players in the team. But I got the Brooklyn Nets as a average team, however. I think they'll be firmly somewhere, well, let me see, the play-in is what? 7, 8, 9, 10 seeds is the play-in, right? 7, 8, 9, and 10, yeah. So I think they'll be a middle of the pack, especially in that Eastern Conference. They'll be good to go somewhere in that, I don't know, 4, 5, 6 seeding. Probably hang somewhere in the mid to high 40s for wins. So, yeah, I think they'll be okay for that. C tier, Brooklyn Nets. My bad, B tier. Forget my own tiers here. B tier. Average team. The New York Knicks finished last season with a 47-35 record. No further explanation here. We know who the New York Knicks are. We know, worst case scenario, they're going to be a lottery team. Best case scenario, they're going to be middle of the road. And the middle of the road New York Knicks team, the fans are basically like Cowboy fans. They're acting like they're way better than they actually are. The hype in New York is going to be crazy. The buzz, every victory is going to feel like a championship, especially every playoff victory. But we all know what the New York Knicks are destined for. They are going to be middle of the road with their best player being Julius Randle. That's just the facts, okay? B tier average team for the New York Knickerbockers. Did I say Knickerbockers? I meant to say Knickerbockers. Forgive me. All right. Next up is the Toronto Raptors. I actually nailed them, if I'm not mistaken, last season. They finished last season with a record of 41-41. They were a 500 ball club, and I fully expect the Toronto Raptors to be a lottery team this year. Yes, they still have Pascal Siakam, but outside of that, they really don't have much going for them. I mean, Dennis Schroeder, Thaddeus Young, Otto Porter Jr. They still got OG. But they're gonna need more firepower than that. They don't have Fred VanVleet anymore. He's gone. I think we really have a lottery team here. Best case scenario, play in. Best case scenario, and I could be wrong here, but I'm dumping them at the bottom of the Eastern Conference. Toronto Raptors, D tier lottery team. There we go. Toronto Raptors, D tier, I say. All right, next up we have the Utah Jazz. I believe last season they came in with a bunch of hype, right? Didn't they start off really hot, if I'm not mistaken? But if that was the case last year, they fizzled out with a 37-45 record. I believe, was Lauri Markkanen on the team last season? I think he was, because I remember he was lighting up for a little bit. But I expect much of the same for the Utah Jazz. I don't think they'll be bidding for a play-in spot. I think they will be a lottery team, missing the playoffs entirely. Jordan Clarkson, definitely a spark plug off the bench, but they're going to need more than Lauri Markkanen and Kelly Olynyk to lead that team to the path of fortune, of prosperity, if you will. So, and they do have Colin Sexton. What's his name? Colin or Colin? Sexton. They got Sexton. Nice little point guard. A fairly safe fantasy choice if you play fantasy basketball. But, sorry, Utah Jazz, you guys are going to be a sub-500 team again on the outside in, looking in the window of the playoffs in the Western Conference. So, Utah Jazz, D-tier, I say. D-tier, I say. All right, next up, we got the Houston Rockets. This team is piss poor. They finished last season with a 22-60 record. They just have a bunch of young players. I think they recently picked up Victor Oladipo in the offseason, if I'm not mistaken. But bear in mind, this is Victor Oladipo, riddled with injuries over the last few years, and definitely not his prime self. And of course they picked up, what's that guy's name? The dude from the Memphis Grizzlies, Dylan Brooks. People say I look like him. I do not look like Dylan Brooks. I have a cousin that looks just like Dylan Brooks, but I don't think I look like Dylan Brooks. But yeah, Dylan Brooks was their big catch. That guy's a scrub, and they paid him all that money. Blows my mind. But yeah, the most interesting player on this roster is my boy Boban. Boban Marjanovic. That's the only thing. I like watching him play. What Shaq calls him, Lurch. You right. But anyway, yeah. Lottery team, yet again, the Houston Rockets. Womp, womp, womp. All right, next up is the New Orleans Pelicans. Finished last season with a 42-40 record, 2 games over 500, with Zion Williamson largely being absent, especially in that second half of the season. Even when he was healthy, I guess you can say, for lack of a better word, nothing was officially cited, but those comments that he said sounds like mental health was the reason he really wasn't playing. He quote, didn't feel like Zion Williamson. Where the New Orleans Pelicans end up is going to lie on the shoulders of Zion Williamson. When Zion was playing, they were at the top of the Western Conference standings. People do not forget that. He was balling. He was absolutely unstoppable. The team was thriving, and they had at one point, they were somewhere at the top, 1, 2, or 3 seed, somewhere around there. I can't remember, but they were balling. I was like, this team is looking good, man. But then Zion Williamson injured, and then wouldn't get out there on the floor and play. So, assuming he has a fair bit of health, I would put the New Orleans Pelicans on fringe contender status. Okay, they still have Brandon Ingram. They still have Jonas Valanciunas. They still have Jose Alvarado. They got C.J. McCollum still. Cody Zeller is a quality player. Larry Nance Jr. is a quality player. They have a nice little squad there. Guys that are willing to go out there and play. Guys that play their roles. They got some scoring punches. They got some star power. They got all the things you need. I got to see it all come together, and I got to see Zion stay healthy. But based off what I seen last year when Zion was healthy, no mistake in my mind, I would call them a fringe contender and not a team that you would be excited to run into in the playoffs. So I'm going to go ahead and put the New Orleans Pelicans right there on fringe contenders. Now, I am well aware if Zion Williamson does not play, this team goes from fringe contender to play-in tournament team. Like, make no mistake about it. Not only that, even Brandon Ingram was in and out the lineups all season long, but he wasn't as bad as Zion. Oh, baby. Next up, the Los Angeles Lakers. Finished the season with a 43-39 record. They were in the play-in tournament last year. Most analysts have them being a contender or fringe contender this year if they were going by my standards. You still got LeBron James. You still got AD. D'Lo's going to play a full season with him now. They picked up Gabe Vincent from the Miami Heat. Pretty sure that was a free agent cash in, if I'm not mistaken. Austin Reeves is still there. Now they picked up Christian Wood at the center position. Center / power forward, I guess. I don't know if he's going to be coming off the bench for AD or he's going to be playing center with AD at power forward. Not sure how they want to mix that up, but I know Christian Wood, I've seen him play center before, but he's under 7 feet. But you know how it is with small ball these days. It's all interchangeable. They still got Rui. They picked up Taurean Prince. Was Taurean Prince on the squad last year? I'm a Laker fan. I can't even remember. I want to say no, and if he was, he just wasn't getting any play time. But I do like Taurean Prince as a player. I can't remember if he was on the squad last year. Vanderbilt, solid little player. Anyway, Los Angeles Lakers, I think they'll be better than they are last year. They were going through all the drama and everything swirling around LeBron, Russ, AD, Darvin Ham. It was a mess, and it was just a poorly put together roster with pieces that didn't fit. But we all saw what happened after they got some pieces to fit around LeBron James. They got rid of Russ. Not that it was not all his fault, but you can't have Russ and LeBron on the same team. They don't work well together. The team played well when LeBron James was off the floor, when he was injured, and it was Russ and AD. They were balling, but it's not going to work with both of those guys on the floor at the same time. They both play a similar style of basketball. So we all saw they were able to take off when they got the new pieces around them that fit better, and they made it all the way to the Western Conference Finals where they got swept, but many of those games were close and competitive for the most part. So I'm taking the Los Angeles Lakers, and I am putting them... I do not think the Lakers are championship contenders. But I think they'll be better than an average team. So I'm going to put the Lakers on fringe contenders tier. A tier. I still think they're missing something. I'm not a fan of super teams, so I'm not going to sit here and say they need another all-star, but I'll tell you what they're missing. They're missing a consistently great Anthony Davis. Anthony Davis, flip a coin. You don't know if you're getting a role player. You don't know if you're getting an all-star. I think the other pieces will fit well around them, but they're missing a consistent Anthony Davis, and I would also say they're missing. Hopefully, LeBron James can stay relatively healthy most of the season, but you know how he is with these fake injuries and all that BS. So who knows? Who knows? I don't know. Who knows? But I think the role players are solid. I think D'Angelo Russell is going to struggle a bit if they don't allow him to play the point guard position. So there are some question marks that I have about personalities and styles on the roster, but on paper they definitely look good and capable. So I'm going fringe contenders with the LA Lakers. All right, next up we have the Chicago Bulls. Finished last season with a 40-42 record. If I'm not mistaken, were they in the? Yeah, I think they were in the play-in tournament last year. Nikola Vucevic is still on the team. DeRozan's still on the team. I heard rumors that Lonzo Ball was pretty much going to miss the entirety of the season. I don't know how true those rumors are, but I'm assuming he's at least going to be starting off the season hurt. Not completely sure. They got Andre Drummond. They still got Zach LaVine, Alex Caruso. They have a solid squad, but I think they're missing some leadership, and there are rumblings of friction between DeMar DeRozan and Zach LaVine. I don't know how true those were, but I don't have faith in either one of those guys as leaders, to be honest. And neither one of them don't do anything much more than scoring. I don't really think they impact the game in many more ways. And I think if their scoring's not on, they just don't have much more to offer outside of that. And I'm not a big fan of the role players that they have around them. Kobe White's pretty decent. Alex Caruso solid. Like I said, Lonzo Ball, Vucevic can be great, but that's not enough, man. So Chicago Bulls, I think they will be once again in the play-in tourney, trying to get in either that 7, 8, or 9, 10 seed. So Chicago Bulls play-in tourney. All right, next up is the Minnesota Timberwolves, baby. Finished last season with a 42-40 record, sitting in the play-in last year. I think they'll be another play-in team again. Y'all know if you've watched me on here, you know I ain't no Karl Anthony Towns fan by any stretch of the imagination. But I do like Ant Edwards. Not a big Rudy Gobert guy either, but his defense is solid. Mike Conley is getting older. I think he's going to start looking a bit more long in the tooth as he continues to get up there in age. Who else? What's other boy in that squad? Kyle Anderson. But outside of that, the pieces around these players aren't really the best. I guess Jaden McDaniels. I don't know. Ant Edwards still has a lot of maturing and growing to do. So does Karl Anthony Towns, but Ant hasn't been in the league nearly as long as Cat has. So Rudy Gobert can be a bit of an offensive liability at times, but the defense is solid, though I think a bit overrated at times. But I don't have faith in any one of these guys outside of Ant Edwards. But like I said, he still has a lot of growing pains to do and a lot more curves to get around. So Minnesota Timberwolves, yet again, will be fighting for a playoff tourney bid, in my opinion. All right, who we got next? The Portland Trail Blazers. Yeah. They finished last season with a 33-49 record, now absent completely of Damian Lillard and looking to go into that rebuilding phase with players like Jeremy Grant. Now they have DeAndre Ayton, Anthony Simons will wholeheartedly now step into that role. And now they have Michael Brogdon. I love the guy, but I never get his name right. I love his game. But still, that's not going to be enough to do anything significant. So, yeah. Portland Trail Blazers will be a lottery team, and I'm sure they're going to be looking for some nice young talent to continue to shape their roster moving forward into the future. Denver Nuggets. I mean, do I have to say anything here? Is there an explanation needed? Is there? You know, they still got their nucleus. They still got Nikola Jokic. Reggie Jackson, who didn't get a sniff of the playoffs, basically, a complete scoring piece of dynamite, was just riding on the bench practically that whole offseason. They have Reggie Jackson coming off the bench, and they don't even use him. Now, they did lose Bruce Brown. I don't remember where he went, but they lost Bruce Brown. So I think that will hurt them. They might feel his loss because he was a very important player and did a lot of important things for them, especially coming up huge in those playoffs. But with a full, healthy season behind them and moving forward, I do expect our boy, what's his name? Come on, Jamal Murray. I do expect Jamal Murray to take that next step as a player, especially for the regular season, now that he feels comfortable in his body completely coming off that championship. And I expect him to pick up a little bit more of the load, especially with Bruce Brown being gone. But we'll see what happens. But come on now. Denver Nuggets, championship contenders, baby. All right. Next up, we have the Oklahoma City Thunder. Finished with a 40-42 record last season. I think this team has a lot of upside. I think Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, who many people have in the top 10, is going to be even better than he was last year, going to be better this season. And I think those young players around him will continue to grow, and he will continue to make them better with a general good all-around style of basketball that he plays. And they got Chet. I completely forgot about that. Chet didn't even play last season. So now they got the boy Chet, who was looking pretty damn good in the preseason. One of those unicorn players. So yeah, I got the Oklahoma City Thunder in the B tier. I think that will be an average team. I think Chet and Shai will be great next to each other. And the young players around them should continue to get better and fill in. I know they got some decent shooters on that team too. So, yeah. OKC, middle of the road, B tier, average team. Next up, we got the Memphis Grizzlies. Now, this is a dicey one. They finished last season with a 51-31 record. As we know, Ja Morant is going to miss the first, 20, 25, 26, 27 games because of his suspension with all the guns and all the BS on social media. So they are really going to struggle coming out of the gate without Ja Morant. So I think that's definitely going to affect their record in the long term. That is over a quarter of the season, basically, that they won't have Ja. Right? Now, they did pick up Marcus Smart. They got Luke Kennard still. He was on the season last year. Desmond Bane is a good enough player to maybe keep them middle of the road while Ja Morant is gone. And I think Derrick Rose, that acquisition, will be good for Ja Morant, just considering the similarities in how they play and how he can be a mentor to Ja. And Steven Adams, we just found out 1 or 2 days ago that he will miss the entire season with season-ending surgery as his rehab from last season didn't go too hot. So they will be without Steven Adams. So they will definitely be looking for a solid big to hold the anchor because Steven Adams was absolutely great for that ball club. All right, I don't think they'll be as good as they were last year defensively, but I could be wrong, but I don't think so. And yeah, I with Ja missing that many games, I think at least record-wise, they're going to be a man. Yeah, you still got the Mavs. Yeah, I got the Memphis Grizzlies as a playing team. I think that's going to hurt. I think that suspension is really going to hurt them. I really do. C tier for the Memphis Grizzlies. Next up, we got the Dallas Mavericks. Late season acquisition of Kyrie Irving. Missed the playoffs, finishing with a 38-44 record. As we all know, they tanked at the end of the season. courtesy of Mark Cuban at his request. So it was unfortunate to see those guys go out like that on purpose, but it is what it is. Mark Cuban felt like they didn't have enough to win a championship right then and there, so he felt like he had to make a business decision for the franchise. But it'll be nice to see Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving have a full season to play together, full season under their belt. But I have to see those guys work it out and figure out how to play with each other, especially in the clutch. You got two guys that are pretty good clutch performers, but they were tripping over their own shoes, worrying about the other guy and what the other guy could do or would do in those key moments of the game. So they're going to have to figure those out, get a feel for each other better than what they had last year. Now, they got Markieff Morris. They got Grant Williams now, which was a good pickup. They got Seth Curry now. Did they pick up Seth in the offseason, or was he part of that trade? I can't remember. But they got Seth Curry, fantastic shooter. Guy can come in and give you good spark off the bench if he's not starting. I don't think he is. Still got Dwight Powell. Maxi Kleber, I love that guy, by the way. I love how he plays. So Tim Hardaway Jr. still, I'm not a big Tim Hardaway Jr. fan. He's very streaky, I feel like. Tim Hardaway's just not consistent enough for me. But they got two fantastic stars in Kyrie and Luka and some solid pieces around them. And those two alone can do enough offensively to be a problem for any team any given night. But they're going to have to be a better defensive squad. And Kyrie and Luka are going to have to play better together and figure out how to get these other guys to come along without alienating them. So we'll see where they end up. But for right now, for the Dallas Mavericks, it's hard. I am going back and forth between fringe contenders and average team. There's just too many question marks right now. Because if they get a really good, solid piece, I can see them definitely. You know what? I'm gonna go ahead and put the Dallas Mavericks as an average team. Yeah. They're probably gonna be somewhere right there in that 4, 5, 6 seeding in the Western Conference, to be honest. So yep, that's where I got the Dallas Mavericks. Oh, next up, this should be interesting. The San Antonio Spurs finished with a 22-60 record last season, but now we know they have the unicorn, the highest prospect in NBA history, Victor Wembanyama, who has looked sensational, all things considered, in the preseason. There's a big question mark with this team because I don't know how much Pop is going to allow Victor to flourish, but he can be a definite difference maker. Now, they got Cedi Osman, who I think is a nice, solid little player. They got the young boy, Jeremy Sochan, from Poland, who I think brings great energy and has a lot of upside with him moving forward. Zach Collins is a solid centerpiece. Nothing crazy, but serviceable. I have question marks about the other players around them right now. And not just question marks as I don't know a lot about some of these other players. I didn't watch a whole lot of San Antonio Spurs basketball last year, but so my prediction is more or less going to be on what I know about Victor Wembanyama so far and what I think he's capable of doing, and what I know about Pop and him being able to be a mastermind at putting teams together, especially around players. Pop is that guy that could take people that are, for lack of a better word, no-name players, and then putting them in positions to thrive. And that no-name guy is now with somebody you got to watch out and fear, because Pop is going to put him in a position to win in his system and his style of play. Like many San Antonio Spurs team in the past, you always had these role players cooking your ass. Before Patty Mills was a household name, he got big from his role in the San Antonio Spurs and shooting them damn threes. Before that, nobody knew who the hell Patty Mills was. That's what Popovich does. So, San Antonio Spurs. It's just, I don't know. I think it will be a safe bet for me to say play-in tournament. I think Victor Wembanyama is good enough to get him out of the lottery. So I'm going to go ahead and put them in the play-in tourney, probably sitting around the 7th or 8th seed somewhere. I think that's safe. But part of me feels like they could be a middle-of-the-road average team, but I think play-in tournament is a safe bet. Phoenix Suns. This one is tricky. Finished last season with a 45-37 record. Picked up Kevin Durant before the trade deadline, and in the offseason they picked up Bradley Beal. So they have a potent offensive trio of Kevin Durant, Bradley Beal, and Devin Booker. Bear in mind, they also brought over sniper, sharpshooter, energy, great role player, Yuta Watanabe, over from the Brooklyn Nets as well. They also picked up Bobo, another unicorn player with tremendous upside, which I didn't want to see Bobo here. I would like to see Bobo playing with Kevin Durant. I think that would be absolutely amazing. And they put on a show last year when they played against each other. But I would like to see Bobo go to another team where he can thrive as a number one option, and we can see this guy grow. But he has so much upside. But he keeps going to all these teams that are thick with talent, and he's not being able to be maximized for everything he's capable of. So they picked up Eric Gordon, and they got Nurkic. They got Grayson Allen. They got some solid role players, but the big thing that I worry about the Phoenix Suns is their defense. Is their offensive punch going to be potent enough on a consistent basis to make up for their defensive woes as a team, as a unit? I don't know. And it is very possible it could be good enough to make up for the defense, but I don't know. Especially come playoff time, that becomes harder to deal with if you don't have the defensive tools and a defensive mindset. And a lot of that is effort. But I can't trust Devin Booker. I can't trust Bradley Beal to play defense. I can't trust Eric Gordon to play defense. I can trust Utah. I've seen Utah do it, and I've seen Kevin Durant do it. But a lot of these other guys, they're not really. Ugh. So for the Phoenix Suns, I am contemplating championship contenders and fringe contenders. Because there's enough there to definitely win a championship, in my opinion. And I can definitely see them as a potential. I mean, I could see them in the finals. Like, I could see that. You know what? Yeah, you know what? They're championship contenders. That's a team to be reckoned with, even with the defensive woes. They are a team to be reckoned with. But the good thing for them is that their coach is Frank Vogel, and Frank Vogel is a great defensive coach. So they have that working for them. If anybody can come in and bring some guys together to play solid defense, I think Frank Vogel can do it. So championship contender. There's a possibility they can come together to be a better defensive team than what I guess most people are getting them credit for. All right. Next up is the LA Clippers. All right. Finished last season with a 44-38 record. Russell Westbrook helped keep that team afloat near the end of the season. Russell Westbrook, in the small sample size we got with the LA Clippers, played phenomenally. And I was so happy for him because I told everybody, Russ ain't the problem, Russ ain't the problem, Russ ain't the problem. And you put him in a position where he can thrive, where he can be himself, people that he can count on, people that don't monopolize the ball, allow him to have more point guard duties, he will flourish. Leaves it all out on the floor at all times. Now they're coming in with a healthy Kawhi Leonard, a healthy Paul George. They got Marcus Morris, the boy Big Zoo's coming back, Robert Covington, Terrence Mann is going to be better. They got Norman Powell, solid offensive punch. They still got Nicholas Batum. They got Mason Plumlee. They have a solid squad of two-way players, top to bottom. Top to bottom. But the biggest question mark with the LA Clippers is always, is Kawhi Leonard and or Paul George going to be healthy come playoff time or to play the majority of the season? Now, it has been noted that Ty Lue and the Clippers all agreed that there will be no load management this season. If you can play, you will play every game, and you will play the minutes that you should be playing. All right, so we'll see if that sentiment and that idea is true moving forward. But the biggest question with them, because I've picked them to win a championship the last 2 to 3 years. They were my pick. And when they were all healthy and playing together, they look like championship contenders. But it's always the health with these guys. They're good enough to play with anybody. They're good enough to beat anybody when healthy. But are they going to stay healthy? Kawhi Leonard, when healthy, is arguably the best player in the league. Arguably. But without a doubt, top 5. But can he stay healthy? I don't know. And every part of me wants to put these guys back in the S tier, just praying for a good bit of health. I don't know if I can keep doing this to myself. I don't. You know what? I'm not doing it this year. I'm not doing it. I think they can win the championship if healthy. But I'm going to put them on fringe contenders. Just like I said, I don't know what the hell I'm getting from Anthony Davis or Zion Williamson. I don't know what the hell I'm getting from Kawhi Leonard and Paul George either. So if I'm going to be fair, I'm going to be fair across the board. Fringe contenders with a... And whether they move up or not, it's going to be contingent on health. The Golden State Warriors finished last season with a 44-38 record. The nucleus of the team is still coming back. They got rid of that dark cloud looming over their head. Now all the drama is gone with Jordan Poole and Draymond Green. They gave Draymond Green the bag, so he'll be back as their primary facilitator / playmaker and defensive anchor, though each year he's definitely losing a step. Klay Thompson will be back. Not the same player that I used to be after all his injuries, but any given day he can still knock down the 3 ball. Steph Curry is going to be Steph Curry. Jonathan Kuminga, from what I hear, is going to get an expanded role on the team, which should be good to see. The guy has a lot of upside going for him. Now, the big addition in the offseason was, of course, Chris Paul. CP3 and Steph Curry will be playing together. This will be fun to see. Chris Paul, far off his prime, but still a highly effective player. Great veteran. And any given night, he can turn into something close to vintage Chris Paul. From what I hear is that Chris Paul will be starting alongside Steph Curry, so he will not be Steph's backup. So that dynamic will be great to see. And that adds another playmaker and somebody with a high basketball IQ and somebody that can make great decisions in timely moments of a basketball game. Gary Payton is still coming back. The boy Kevin Looney is going to be back. Andrew Wiggins is going to be back. Corey Joseph now they have on the squad. Dario Saric. What's his name? Dario. Is it Saric? I don't know. But anyway, they have some solid pieces. And a veteran in Rudy Gay. You always need that veteran. However, with that being said, I do not think the Golden State Warriors are championship contenders. I have to see more. I got to see how this Chris Paul, Steph Curry thing works out. And I got to see how the expanded Jonathan Kuminga role is going to affect the basketball club. There's a lot of question marks right now with me and the Golden State Warriors. But I think if not anything else, they're just one piece away from being a contender. So I'm going to put the Golden State Warriors in the A tier, to be honest with you. Shout out to dubnation. Detroit Pistons finished last season with a 17-65 record. Listen, no explanation needed for these guys. They are going to be a lottery team behind the boy Cade Cunningham and the boy Isaiah Stewart. Yep, lottery team. Not wasting my breath talking about the Detroit Pistons. They're trash, and they'll probably be trash for a long time coming. Sorry to say. Next up, the Sacramento Kings had a great season last year. It was making a lot of noise. What's the saying go? Light the beam? Is that what they say? Finished the season with a 48-34 record. Gave the Golden State Warriors all they could handle in the playoffs. And I expect them to be even better this year. I expect them to take the next step forward. I expect them to cross that 50-win threshold this season. Okay? Domantas Sabonis, I expect to be better, and he was phenomenal last season. De'Aaron Fox, absolutely phenomenal. The best clutch performer last season, is going to be better. They got Kevin Huerter. I always pronounce his wrong. I don't know if that's how you pronounce his last name. That's how I pronounce it. Malik Monk is going to be good for him. Harrison Barnes. All right. JaVale McGee. Yeah. JaVale McGee, low-key, is good for what you use him for. You bring him in for some length. You bring him in to alter some shots, catch a few lobs, block some shots, and then you sit him down. But he be coming in clutch sometimes with those defensive plays and those lobs. I have to say, he's a goofy guy, but I will give JaVale McGee that. But this team is young. They're excited. They play team basketball. They're fearless. And they have a lot of motivation going for them, especially seeing what they were able to do, how they were able to push the Golden State Warriors in the playoffs. And really, a lot of them believe they should have won that series. And there were a lot of people that did think Sacramento Kings would win that series. So, yeah. Sacramento Kings. I am going back and forth with being a fringe contender and an average team. You know what? I will give them fringe contender status. I think they're just missing a little bit of something. Maybe a strong veteran player, a stronger veteran presence. Maybe, one solid mid-level piece. Maybe a slight upgrade. I don't know. Yeah, they're missing something. And it doesn't have to be a big piece. It doesn't have to be a superstar player. But if De'Aaron Fox can take the next step and Sabonis, that might be enough to put them, in the Western Conference Finals. Who knows? Anything can go from there. But they're still really young. That's the kicker. That's the kicker, too. So they have the... Yeah, I'm okay leaving them at fringe contender. Not quite there, but almost there. The Cleveland Cavaliers finished last season with a 51-31 record. Listen, man. I'm not a believer in the Cleveland Cavaliers. I'm not as high on Donovan Mitchell as some people are. Ricky Rubio's starting to get long in the tooth. They got LeVert. LeVert can be a beast at times. He's solid at times. They got a lot of youth, a lot of energy, but I just don't feel like they have a whole lot of guidance. Darius Garland is still on the squad. I wouldn't even put them as fringe contenders, man. I'd put the Cavaliers as being an average. Even in the Eastern Conference. Yeah, I would have to throw them right there in the mix with the New York Knicks, Thunder, Nets. They need a lot, not more. They're not one piece away. They're not a little piece away. They need more. Boston Celtics finished last season with a 57-25 record. I expect them to be better this season than they were last season. Yes, they lost Marcus Smart. Yes, they lost what's that boy's name? They lost Time Lord too, right? I think they lost Time Lord. Yeah, I think they did. Yeah, and they lost Williams. So, but they picked up freaking Drew Holiday, which was massive. Drew Holiday, Jason Tatum, and non-dribbling ass Jaylen Brown. That's a solid... Oh, and Kristaps Porzingis. Dude, they got a solid 4 players right there. Solid. Some people have the Boston Celtics over the Milwaukee Bucks. They like those 4 players better than what the Milwaukee Bucks have to offer. This is going to be interesting seeing this Boston Celtics team play, but I have to put the Boston Celtics up there as championship contenders. I have to. I have to. Philadelphia 76ers. What a shit show this is. Finished last season with a 54-28 record. Nobody expects James Harden to finish the season Last I heard, he didn't show up to a practice or something like that. I don't know. Uh, I don't know what to say about this team. I'm not a big believer in Joel Embiid. Definitely don't believe in James Harden. Tyrese Maxey is the best thing, the only thing I can trust. If there's a player I can trust is going to be himself and play the way I expect him to play, it's Tyrese Maxey. Joel Embiid is great. He's fantastic, but there's certain moments where he just consistently does not show up. Doesn't. I don't know. They still got Tobias Harris. They got Mo Bamba coming off the bench, but nah. They're missing a piece, so I'm going to put them at fringe contender. I still think they're better than average. I think Joel Embiid to get you there with Tobias Harris and Maxey, whether James Harden plays or not. But fringe contender. Too many question marks and too much of a circus show there. Charlotte Hornets. This is a team that I thought would be middle of the road. Last year, I think I had them at middle of the road, but that was based on LaMelo Ball and Miles Bridges, and I don't even know what happened to Miles Bridges. They finished 27-55. Well, I know what happened to him. Obviously, the domestic violence charge, but I'm not sure if he's still on the Charlotte Hornets roster. I don't know. And I heard some other charges resurface with him, so I don't know. But I think that hurt that team significantly between LaMelo Ball and Miles Bridges not being there. They still got Scary Terry. Gordon Hayward's still in the squad. PJ Washington. Honestly, outside of that, there's not a whole lot there that these guys have to look forward to. Even if LaMelo Ball balls his heart out, I think they'll be taken. I don't know. You know what? I'll put the Hornets as a play-in tourney team if LaMelo Ball can stay healthy. I think they'll be somewhere in the bottom of those Eastern Conference playoffs, fighting for a playoff position. But as much as I want to put them somewhere in that average team, there's just not enough there, man. The Washington Wizards finished with a 35-47 record last season. As we all know, they lost Bradley Beal, but they picked up Jordan Poole to go along with Kyle Kuzma to maybe make some noise there in Washington, D.C. Jordan Poole is a erratic player with a bunch of high peaks and low lows. He lacks the consistency that you might like, and he can't impact the game if he's not scoring well. So, and I think Kyle Kuzma, much of the same can be said for him as well. Outside of that, they ain't got a whole lot going for him. Danilo Gallinari ain't the same Danilo Gallinari. Taj Gibson ain't the same Taj Gibson, you know what I'm saying? Lottery team, Washington Wizards, I do not think they'll be fighting for a play-in tournament bid. The Orlando Magic. I was very disappointed that they got rid of Mo Bamba and Bol Bol. I was really looking forward to seeing that team thrive with those two guys, but the Orlando Magic finished with a 34-48 record. But believe me, this team is deep with talent, especially when they had Bol Bol and Bamba. Why did they get rid of those guys? Why did they stop playing Bol Bol? His minutes just started reducing. Now he started getting DMPs, but they was playing him, and he was playing damn good in the beginning. But they have a lot of rich talent, young talent on that squad, and the Orlando Magic are coming. I don't know when. Now, see, when they had Bol Bol, I was like, give them 2 years, maybe 3 years away. They coming. But Magic are coming. I'm going to put the Orlando Magic this season as a play-in tournament team. I'm not ready to put them there at average yet. I got to see. But they're coming, and I think they will be better. The Miami Heat finished the season with a 44-38 record. Came from the play-in spot. Made it to the NBA Finals. They lost Gabe Vincent. They were not able to grab Damian Lillard. Kyle Lowry's still on the team. Robinson's still on the team. Butler still on the squad. Caleb Martin's still on the squad. Hero's still on the squad. Bam's still on the squad. Kevin Love's still on the squad. But they didn't make any big offseason splashes or offseason moves. I'm not high on the Miami Heat as other people are and the Miami Heat culture. Like, I get all that. But If they had to face the Boston Celtics again, I don't think they beat them. If they had to face the Milwaukee Bucks again, I don't think they'd beat them. And I don't know what I'm going to get from these guys in the regular season. But they're capable of doing anything if they can get into the playoffs, right? Clean slate. But I do not think the Miami Heat are championship contenders. I do not. And they're missing a piece. And it could be a big star piece, too. Like, Damian Lillard would have been great for them. That would have put him into the championship contending atmosphere, but they didn't. So I am going back and forth with, you know what, they did go to the championship last year, so that's good enough to get you in fringe contention. I'm not going to put them at middle of the road. Atlanta Hawks finished with a 41-41 record last season. This team has been, they had one really good season. I think that was the year they went to the Eastern Conference Finals, if I'm not mistaken. And everybody thought they would take the next step forward, but they've only been backpedaling since then. You know what you're going to get from Trae Young. You know what you're going to get from Clint Capella. But everybody else, I don't have a lot of faith in. Patty Mills is going to be a spot-up shooter, energy guy like you want him to be. They got Bogdan Bogdanovic, who's a great, solid key player, role player. Wesley Matthews can hit an open jumper. Sadiq Bey is a solid ball player, and of course DeJounte Murray. But I don't know if this DeJounte Murray and this Trae Young thing is going to work long term. But I don't know. I don't know what to make of these guys, man. I'm putting them somewhere in the B or C tier. I think I'll go ahead and put the Atlanta Hawks as an average team. I'm cool with that. Indiana Pacers finished last season with a 35-47 record. The only thing they really got going for them, the only big name that really, so I guess two big names, is Tyrese Halliburton. Young player, a lot of upside, all-around basketball game, hell of a playmaker. Halliburton special. Miles Turner, still in his youth. It feels like Miles Turner's been in the league for decades for some reason, but he's still a relatively young player. But he's not happy in Indiana. He's made public outbursts. I don't know if outbursts is the right word, but he's made public statements last year about something along the lines of wanting to play for the Lakers or another team. So I don't know if Miles Turner is going to be there long term. I don't know if he recently signed a large extension or anything. I'm not sure. Buddy Hield's still on the squad. But, Indiana Pacers, I think they'll be fighting in the play-in tournament. I think they'll be below average. It's still got a lot to go for them. All right. So there are my 2023-2024 NBA predictions. All right. In the S tier, the championship contenders, we have 2 players from the Eastern Conference and 2 players from the Western Conference. In the Milwaukee Bucks, the Denver Nuggets, Phoenix Suns, and Boston Celtics. Fringe contenders, just a little bit away, just missing a little bit of something to get them over the hump. We got the Pelicans, the Lakers, Clippers, Warriors, Kings, Sixers, Miami Heat. And for the New Orleans Pelicans and the Clippers, I think the only thing that's missing is health for them. Average teams in middle of the road: Brooklyn, New York, Thunder, Mavs, Cleveland Cavaliers, Atlanta Hawks. Playing teams: Chicago, Minnesota, Memphis, San Antonio, Charlotte, Orlando Pacers, and the lottery squads. Womp, womp, womp. Toronto Raptors, Jazz, Rockets, Portland Trailblazers, Detroit Pistons, and the Washington Wizards. Please let me know if you agree or disagree with any of these choices I've made. I would absolutely love to hear your opinion. Where do you disagree? Where do you agree? Let me know. Where would you move any of these teams in these tier rankings on your list? Would love to hear your opinion. I do my best to analyze these ball clubs. It's impossible for me to watch every single game, every single team all the time, especially living on the other side of the world. So I do my best and watch as much basketball as I possibly can when I can. But this is the best I could do trying to predict next season, this upcoming season. So like I said, once the regular season is over, I'll come back and revisit this and evaluate where I went wrong and what I got right, all right? Appreciate you for stepping in. Like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell, stay notified, and I will catch you on the next one. We out, baby.